Hello, my name is Lexi. This is JR, and this is Ricky Grimes. How are you, horror fiends? Today, we will be talking about The Last of Us. Oh, I'm sorry. The Last of Us, episode 5, Endure and Survive. This was a definite hard episode to watch, and we'll dive deep into it. But it was definitely hard for me. But I really want to hear your first reactions, JR. I'm going to start with you.
This episode, I gotta say, if you're introduced in the previous episode, don't expect to make it towards the end of the next episode because for some reason it seems like it's going to be happening more often. When you get introduced, I'm gonna not last next episode. But this one was interesting because where we left off last time, we were wondering what was the connection between Kathleen and Henry and Sam. I mean, what did Henry do to basically draw her ire? And we found out exactly what he did. I mean, it was obviously, had to do with the word collaborator. And you kind of understood, we'll dive into a little bit more about it, but you kind of understood why Henry did what he had to do, but at the cost of somebody who was well loved, honored, and basically apparently a very good guy. And Kathleen's, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, it was a good episode. It started off with, understanding a little bit more about Henry and Sam, the relationship they're trying to build with Joel, who, let's be honest, Joel doesn't trust anybody whatsoever, no matter who you're with. You could be with a kid, he doesn't care, he don't trust you. Like you said, it was, seeing Sam that, the act, like you said, was, definitely real life. And it's always good to see those actors coming out more. I'm going to go a little sidetrack, but if you've seen the movie Marvel, one of the characters is actually definitely real. She was so fantastic in it, and Rick knows her from The Walking Dead. So,
oh yeah, she's in that?
She was there. She was in the Eternals.
Oh yes. Oh, you said Marvel. Oh
yeah, well, Marvel. Yeah, in the
I
Eternals.
Movie Marvel.
No,
I never heard of Marvel.
The Eternals.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's good to see.
Love.
Yes, see those actors get a chance to actually play what they really are in real life, and it was amazing to see him do that. Now, look at the scene behind me. You had the connection building between Ellie and Sam. This scene was definitely one I know we're going to talk about, later. But yeah, it was overall a good episode. It started with relationship building, a lot of questions. It ended with I don't know, one of those moments where it just kind of tears your head off.
Ricky, what did you think of this one? What were your first reactions?
Oh man, where do I start? For one, the pacing of the show so far has been excellent because the first 2 episodes were like a crash course into an introduction into this world. They slowed it down with the third one to build more of Joel towards the end, and then the fourth one, it was more of a setup for this episode, you know. And I loved it. And they already mentioned the actress and the deaf actors playing deaf characters now. I love it. It's amazing. And because that's a new addition. Sam wasn't deaf in the game, obviously. And when I found out he was really deaf, it just makes it more impactful. And then the actor was so good. Henry, excellent as well. And you really wanted both of them to stick along. Like if I went into this not knowing about the video game and what happens to them, I would have been even more crushed because I like these characters a lot. And the fact that when Henry told Joel, listen, you may not be her father, but you were someone's father. Pretty much saying like, I did bad shit. I'm a bad guy, but this is the world we live in now. We do bad shit to protect those that we love in a sense. And JR mentioned it too. Joel's not a good guy because Joel's done that stuff too. And he can relate. And we know Joel's not an evil guy because even that sniper, he gave him a chance to like, please, I don't want to kill you. You can see in his face. Great acting by Pedro Pascal there too. That little subtle please. you could tell I don't want to do this, and he gave him no choice. So yeah, awesome. Of course, we got a big action scene, and we'll get into that. It looked amazing, and yeah, just real quick, first reaction for it. I was like, it's a roller coaster ride this episode. We got a lot of information. We met new characters. We fell in love with them. We got to spend a little bit more time with Ellie and Joel and see their dynamic versus Henry and Sam, how much they were really similar in a way. And then all of a sudden, we got the big action scene. You're high, yes. And then, like JR said, it's just big gut punch at the end. And it's what was it all for? That's who's right and who's wrong. So, yeah.
That's why it's called The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Y'all, every episode I've been crying, except last one. I was really happy with an episode full of action. But y'all know me. I drink that wine, and I had to bring the whole fucking bottle for this one because this was a tearjerker. I think I cried the most with this one. Yeah. And having to watch it again to prepare for tonight. I still cried.
I couldn't watch it again, man. I couldn't.
I
thought it was bad,
but I had to for this.
Yeah.
And it's definitely difficult. I loved Sam and Henry. I was waiting to run into them. I played the game, so I was definitely expecting them. I knew what was coming. I knew it, but to see it in live action is so different, and it's hard to watch. Especially with Henry, I can relate to the situation personally, and not diving into anything deep on that. It's hard to watch, and I love the relationship between the two brothers, but I like the mirror relationship of Joel and Ellie. They're growing way more. As me and JR were talking last time, Joel is an onion peeling of layers, and I say it every episode, and he is leaking this time. He's leaking those onions off. And so I love the relationship and growth between the two, especially with and we'll dive more deeply into it with Joel and Ellie. But one part I do want to pin out was the fact that she doesn't listen, right? No. So she doesn't listen to him. He's not her father, and he's not her daughter. So the fact that the scene where they're going into the tunnels with Sam and Henry, and he's like, all right, get ready, pull out your gun. And she pulls it out of her pocket with that smart ass face. You just want to backhand that face. But yeah, she had it in her pocket when he said, put it in your backpack.
Put it in your bag. And
I thought it was hilarious. But on to Kathleen and Perry. I am truly sad Perry's gone. I am so glad Kathleen is gone. I gave her a chance. I said it last episode. I didn't like her. I didn't like her introduction. I didn't like the fact that she was too nice. She's a nice actress. She's a nice girl all the time. And to put her in a leadership role, to act like she's a badass. And again, I'm not shitting on her as an actress. She's a great actress. Melanie Linsky is a great actress. She's just not right for this part. And she still wasn't for me in this episode. Her backstory, I kind of wish we would have gotten because we got a couple of flashbacks, right? Where Henry saw Joel shoot up the guys. And that's how he knew he was right for guy to go through the tunnels. But I wish we would have had a small flashback of Kathleen's brother. And that would have made more sense to me because we hear this talk, but I would like a visual flashback between Henry and the brother. Why? Because he kept saying he's a nice guy. He was a people's man and a hero. But can we see that? I don't know. Maybe I'm nitpicking, but I wanted to see that. So that was my reaction on Kathleen and Perry. But Perry's scene and the way he dies.
He went out like a G, let me tell you.
He did. Went out like a champ. He did. But damn, I drank on that too. Yeah. So how did you guys feel, starting with you, JR, about the relationships between Joel and Ellie, Henry and Sam, Kathleen and Perry, but there was a mixture of all of them too, with Sam and Ellie and Henry and Joel. So all these relationships, what did you think?
Well, then let's start with Kathleen and Perry. I usually don't read when somebody goes through stuff, but I feel bad for the actress because there was a whole thing that she was getting body shamed. And I'm sorry, don't do that to nobody. Don't do that to no, especially when it's a supermodel trying to body shame somebody. I'm sorry.
Melanie is a
You're paid to stay skinny, so just understand that where you have people who have natural bodies. I just want to get that out the way because I felt bad when I read that. Nobody deserves to be hearing that, but yeah, I mean,
she's from New Zealand. Where's she from? She's not American.
No, I forgot where
it's crazy because her American accent is on point, and if you listen to her speak, it blows your mind. Doesn't even sound like her at all. So her talents are
she's a very talented actor, and
she's beautiful.
No, she is. And if you see her, like a lot of the characters she portrays, they're beloved characters. You kind of love her roles in movies.
Yeah.
This one was different because you're not used to her playing the villain. And
she had heat with me though in Yellow Jackets when she killed that rabbit and ate it for no reason. So,
but you had that moment where you seen her character basically out of the mean character she was in when she was basically back in her own bedroom in her old house talking to Perry. I mean, that's the character you kind of used to watching, but Perry had blind loyalty because even he questioned a lot of her decisions.
He did.
And this whole episode was him questioning what does she really want to do? Does Henry matter more than everybody else? And for her, it was screw everybody else. It's all about getting Henry, making him, all right, so what happened? Henry's a collaborator. He gave Fedra her brother in order to get a medicine for Sam, who was suffering from, I forgot what it was.
Leukemia.
Leukemia, yeah. So I'm sorry. Even Joel said, I would, not for nothing, I respect you for doing what you did. After a couple moments prior where he called him a rat. I don't work with rats. I don't like rats. So you had Joel in this episode playing more of a father type figure because he didn't want Ellie to see it. Let's be honest, Ellie was basically under an umbrella where she was in the QZ zone. There's certain things she's seen and certain things she didn't see, but Joel wanted to keep her safe from everything. They didn't want her to see anything. And here you have where you finally get Joel playing the father type character unknowingly because, some of the things he did. I mean, the scene right behind, right the other screen where he's basically protecting her with a sniper gun, killing everybody off one by one when they're, all the clickers when they're getting close to her. And then, you see him care because let's be honest, he doesn't care for nobody. Even Tessa was a little bit, he didn't even call her. He couldn't even call her a relationship.
He doesn't want to get close, right? Is that what it is?
Whatever it was, it worked.
Yeah,
that's what he said with the relationship. But you got to see a little bit more of Joel's growth as a character. You got Ellie basically who understood that not everything goes the way she wanted to. I mean, can I dive into this scene real quick?
Yeah.
All right. So in this scene behind me, it's revealed that basically Sam was bit by a clicker when they were under the car, basically fending everybody off. Now, Ellie already has it established in her mind that my blood's the cure. So the minute she put the blood on Sam's wound, and then eventually he turned, I'll let you guys take the rest of that. But when he turned, I felt like she even questioned, is she really the cure? Because my blood didn't help him. So she took some of the majority of the blame of what happened afterwards. So you have all these characters building, and unfortunately, the Henry and Sam character, they build and then kind of stayed at that till the end of this episode. But yeah, for me, I thought it was a great episode where you have these flaws start coming out, these things that you didn't expect from Ellie and Joel, start emerging. And yeah, even at the end where basically she tells him to come on, and he's still like semi-mourning, but she was like, come on, we gotta go. So she took the role of, all right, let's stop the crying, let's stop the thinking. We gotta hit the road. But yeah, very, very good as far as character building and development in this episode.
Yeah. Ricky Grimes, what did you think of all the relationships with all, I guess, 6 of these characters?
Yeah, I'll make it brief. You guys already touched on a lot of the points, but Sam and Henry, I'll start with them too because they were the heart of this episode and they were a means to get Joel and Ellie out of the city through the tunnels, but that was their only purpose. But the fact they gave them a lot of story, and the fact that we fell so in love with these two characters in such a short amount of time. I could only imagine if they would have stuck around more, how that relationship would have built. But because they were taken from us so early, it felt like we really lost something, and it's hard to get that in television or in film as it is. In fact, and you said it, we knew what was coming and it was still rough to watch. And every time there's a medium where it's a video game, a comic book, or something that's adapted, to me personally, in my opinion, it always hits harder when it's live action because you connect with the characters. You mentioned Melanie Linsky's character, Kathleen. Like I could understand the demeanor. It is kind of jarring. She's such a nice person in this horrible role, but that's what made her creepy to me, in a sense, because she was so nice and so calm, but yet ruthless. And I think she was more of a strategist. She was the organizer of the group. But what happened with her, the way I read it, the revenge, it just took over. And her brother was always labeled as this Jesus Christ figure. And the fact that Henry was the one that turned him in, he was the Judas to everything. Yeah. So a lot of cool parallels there. But yeah, Sam and Henry, loved it too. And Kathleen and Perry. Perry, you mentioned it already. He was cool. I don't think he wanted to go all the way, but he was loyal to Kathleen. Like mentioned in the scene with her in the childhood room. And yeah, that was rough. And when he told her, run, don't look back, I'm like, wow, it's over for this whole group. And JR said it too. Every character that comes in here, no matter your status of it. Nick Offerman, for one, you thought, okay, they got Nick Offerman, one episode, and that was it. Now Melanie Linsky's 2 episodes. So yeah, it's that. And Joel and Ellie, man, like it's just, I love the growth. Boom, boom, boom. Every episode that you mentioned, the onion, perfect. The layers keep coming off. Yeah. And Joel and Ellie, we gotta remember, it's been over 20 years they've been in this apocalypse already. It ain't nothing new to them. So Joel's seen the good, the bad, and everything is so muddled now. You can't tell what's what anymore because that's what you got to do to survive and endure. But oh man, I don't know what else to say about them that wasn't already said. But I love the character building between this episode and the prior 4. Top tier.
I agree. The character building on all 3 pairs were great. Yeah. The weakest was Kathleen and Perry. I do kind of question if Perry kind of loved Kathleen, only because, again, like you said, JR, there was a blind loyalty to her. That's why I kind of wanted the flashback with the brother, because was it a blind love, or was it he was so good friends with the brother that he had this loyal protection for her? I don't know what it was, but when he said, don't look back and run, that made me feel like a little love connection there, but I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too deep into it.
How poetic that Kathleen's character was like, kids die all the time. It's no big deal. And it was the child.
And then she gets killed by a kid. Karma's bitch. And again, I know you
like that one.
I'm going to repeat it. I love Melanie Linsky. She's not right for this part. And, hate me if you want. I don't care. But she just wasn't right. And I didn't like her for this. But there were moments that I was like, oh, I thought she was going to change my mind. And it just didn't give me that feed that I wanted from her. And I wish Perry would have stayed a little longer. He's a lot more cooler than she is, character-wise.
He was cool.
He was just so cool. And the way he died, he went out like a G.
Yeah, I mean, you should go your beard like that, bro.
Nah, that's too much, man.
And I don't, if anybody caught it from last episode, Easter egg with Perry is that that character voices Tommy in the game, and he's dressed like Tommy in the game. So I love that Tommy from the game is Perry.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But man, the way the bloater just rips his jaw apart. Woo! Lord have mercy.
Practical. That wasn't CGI. That was a guy in a suit.
Yes. And sorry, boyfriend.
Okay, there is CGI to enhance it. I don't want no one telling me that.
There was a hot fitness trainer guy underneath that suit. I saw the pictures. I see the spoilers, but yeah.
I saw.
And then the clicker in the car with Ellie was a 9-year-old gymnast.
Yep.
She
I know it. Oh yeah, you could tell.
Oh yeah, as well. So she was a bad bitch
cool.
For a 9-year-old. But with Sam and Henry being the heart of this whole episode, I loved the brothers' connection. It was the love that they had for each other, and the series is the same as the game. The only difference was Sam was not deaf in the game. So I loved that. Although I'm rusty on ASL, American Sign Language, I loved that they threw that in there. Let me just rewind a little bit. The scene where they're in the building, that 35th floor they were in, and they were talking about, a plan going under the tunnels to go over the bridge and whatnot. You can see that moment where Joel doesn't really want to help, but there's no other choice besides getting out of that town. And he's like, well, how do you know that the tunnels are clear? I don't know. Someone told me.
Joel's reaction was priceless when he said that.
He said they're clear. And how do you know? 3 years ago, they told me that. So like a lot can happen in 3 years. Yeah. And Joel's just like, really? But then fast forwarding to the moment in the classroom, he's, they went through that whole thing going through the tunnels. And then all of a sudden he's like, you know what? I saw that moment where he had that feeling of, let's be a team, But then he goes, I lied to you back at the 35th floor. I did kill somebody. And he opens up about Kathleen's brother. And then Joel switches his mode. Like, I knew I couldn't trust a motherfucker. So he goes back to like, let's just continue this. And so, he was fighting himself almost. So that was a layer I felt peeled from his onion, was just, he was trying to befriend Henry, and then he didn't like the fact that he was lied to. So I felt he went back to his asshole voice, as Ellie would say.
Called him a rat. We heard that twice in this episode.
Yeah, he called him a rat. And then the other relationship is Sam and Ellie. Like the background behind JR, man, it tore me up. The whole scene, especially actually, I won't say it just yet. I'll wait until the next question. But that whole scene behind JR just had me tear up from beginning of that scene to the very end with Sam and Henry. To relate to that personally, it affected me and my daughter, like hardcore. So, like, to watch it, like you said, Ricky, to watch it in live action, knowing that it was coming up, it was hard. It was hard. We both cried together. My daughter took it really hard. She couldn't even watch it again. Usually she'll rewatch them. So she's like, are you going to take notes? Yes, babe, I'm going to take notes. But she could not watch this one again. She could not. And understandably so. It was definitely a tough situation. Luckily, it's just a show. All the characters are fine and well.
You gotta keep telling yourself that.
Yes, that's what I keep telling myself. But I love the relationship because the whole conversation between the two is exactly the same as the game, except they're communicating in a different way. So I love that touch. Overall, the whole thing, the whole show, the whole series is spot on, and relationships and their growth and the action scenes. Yeah, we're going to get into that action scene because I told you last week, JR, I was waiting for the sniper scene.
They added it. I didn't think they were going to add the actual sniper scene.
No. Well, I'm not like y'all. I saw the preview and I saw it and I made my heart.
Oh, really? They showed it in the trailer? Okay, see,
I'm a very impatient woman. I had to watch everything.
I saw. I was like, oh shit! In the game, you were protecting Ellie, and then from the same thing.
From all three of them, and the whole breakout of the house was the same thing. And I want to touch on that really quick. Remember last week, JR, while Ricky was locked up with Fedra, that about the broken concrete. I knew what was possibly coming out of there. And when I saw the truck behind Kathleen just dip down, I was like, "Aw, snap. I knew it. I'm so glad that the sniper scene and that scene connected together, because that whole scene is exactly what happens, minus Kathleen. But the whole Fedra coming in, that's all the same. We just have that backstory of Kathleen and Perry. But the whole thing of that scene beginning to end was the same. And I knew that's where Sam would get bit, unfortunately. Yeah. So Easter eggs and changes of the game. Now, Ricky, did you notice any Easter eggs or changes?
Plenty of Easter eggs. When I go some changes, I noticed one thing: Sam and Henry in the game are from Hartford, which is cool because we're from Connecticut. I'm like, eh. But they took it. They're not from Hartford no more because they're not in Pittsburgh. They're in Kansas City still, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I didn't catch where they were from here though. I don't know if they said it or not, but it ain't Hartford. But
they're still in Kansas City here.
Yeah. But that's where Sam and Henry came from too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said that's my city. Yeah, he did say that. But yeah, I mean, I think as far as I didn't catch much of the changes, honestly. It's been so long since I played the game. I just know bits here and there. But I did catch, of course, the sniper scene, the scene with the way the bloater killed Perry. That's a death animation for the game. I mean, that's fucking perfect. And go back to when we saw like Sam and Henry first see Joel in that shootout, which is pretty cool. It's kind of to do with Easter eggs, but I just thought about it, the fact that you mentioned it earlier when they shot like when Joel shot the guy off screen in the last episode, you didn't see it, but you saw it this time through Henry's point of view, which is pretty cool.
That's right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, what you got? I know you must have a whole fountain of shit to talk about.
So changes. Obviously, the biggest one was Sam being deaf and the communication. The other change was obviously the whole change of this entire, like, small changes have been big impact in this series. So from the very first episode, the biggest change was the infection. So remember the scene, I think was it episode 2 with Tess, where her and Ellie were talking about the infection up at the hotel, and then we saw when the sun hit, they all collided together and moved together. Did you notice? Maybe I'm looking too deep into it, but did you notice
Henry,
when the bloater came out?
Oh,
when the bloater came out, he went straight for, towards Perry and Kathleen. I should know her name. That's my middle name, just so you know. That's an Easter egg. But, notice that when the bloater came out, he would run towards them. And then, we would have the off scenes where Sam and Henry are fighting for the life under the car, and then Ellie's with the contortionist in the vehicle, and then Joel's, which I'm going to touch on Joel in a second, but Joel's sniping. But then they all, get together and then Kathleen's like, wait. And then she gets killed by the child, Karma. And then they have that overview of the clickers and bloater. But did you notice they all came out of that hole towards Perry and Kathleen? But when they had that overview of all of them, the bloater turned around and left. And so did all the clickers.
That was cool. I like that.
The host of the whole infection, because they've been dead the longest. They've been infected the longest. So I feel like maybe I'm looking too deeply into it, but I feel like they're the host and kind of like he's the beehive and all the bees are following him, so to speak. Maybe I'm looking too deep into it, but any direction that he moved, they moved together with it.
I'll have to see that again.
Yeah, that I caught that.
I know when you mentioned the sun. I mentioned when Sam, when he turned, he's just staring at the window. The sun is going right through the window, so he's fixated right on that. So
I noticed that too.
That makes sense.
Now, the other Easter egg was when they were in the classroom and the picture of Ish was on the wall.
Oh yeah.
Ish is really not that important. But in the game, you walk around, you find supplies, you dig through drawers, shelves, blah, blah, blah. Well, also, not only are you finding supplies, you're finding these letters from people that wrote their last words, basically, before they died or turned or whatnot. Whether it was the infection, Fedra, the resistance, raiders, however you died, people left letters throughout the game, and you would collect them. and Ish left the most. So as you were traveling, you would kind of basically follow his footsteps. And he was actually out to sea, came back to his place, and ran into a teacher and a bunch of kids.
He was a
And so
fisherman, right?
Huh?
Was he a fisherman?
Yes, Ish was, but
Fish, yeah.
When he came back to his place, he found Susan, who's the teacher, and a bunch of her kids. She's trying to keep him safe, so he's like, well, let me help you keep safe. He wants companionship, as we all do in that type of world. So just a little Easter egg. Long story short, Ish is a fisherman, comes back to his site, finds the teacher and the kids, and then one of the kids left the doors open, and infected came in and killed some of the kids. The teacher and a few kids and Ish got out, but everyone looked up to Ish as the hero, and he ended up dying. So
Joel mentioned that too, how they got sloppy and they all got infected.
They got sloppy. So I loved that they put Ish on the wall, just a little
cool.
gem.
Cool.
And again, he's not like super. I don't want to say important because he is, but he's not like vital to the show.
Yeah, that's what's nice about it, that they still added in there, just like the comic book that the.
Yes,
you collect those. You collect them all throughout the game, and they got
yes. So like when you're looking through drawers and the shelves and all of that, and once in a while Joel will find a comic book in the game, and he's like, "Hey, Ellie, found another one of those comics you like to read."
It's the same one too. I forgot the name of it.
Exact same one as this, like last episode with the pun book. It was exactly the pun book, and it was exactly the comic Endure and Survive. So that's nice Easter eggs. Alrighty. So what are your closing thoughts of this episode, and what are you looking forward to next time?
All right, so what am I looking forward to next week? Well, closing thoughts for one, I love this episode. Now, people love the third one as the best one, which I'm not going to debate that, but me personally, I like this episode more. It had more action in it. It was just more rounded off, well-rounded in a sense. But I love this episode a lot. Like I said, it was a roller coaster of emotions. Had great acting, the little Easter eggs, the details, everything that was in here was there for a reason. It had purpose. It felt like no filler at all. And looking forward to next week. I don't know what I'm looking forward to, honestly, because I don't see trailers, and right now it could go either any which direction, because they're kind of going out of sequence a bit as far as the storyline, where they're ending up and where they are. So I don't want to guess. I don't want to look into it. I just want to watch it like I've been doing it and be surprised. But what I want to see more Joel and Ellie. I want them to get closer now. I don't know, how many episodes is this? 9? You guys know? 8?
I think it's 8 episodes, right?
All together?
Yeah.
I don't know, actually.
Damn, all right. Well,
is it only 8?
Let's say it's 8 or 9, right? That's still 3 to 4 episodes. That's nothing. So I want to see Joel and Ellie kind of start.
Obviously, a lot happens in 3 to 4 episodes. Yeah.
So that's what I want. I want more of that relationship to build. What I don't want them to introduce new characters just for them to die, or people getting bit off screen. They did that twice with Tess and Sam now. I get the game did that, but you don't want to fall into that trap. The Walking Dead started doing that towards the end, where everyone who died got bit off screen, and you don't realize it till later. It gets old. I hope they don't fall into that trope. Right now, they're good. They're on good standing with me, but don't fall into that. Keep it fresh, and just keep doing what you're doing. If you keep this pace up, this quality, direction, cinematography, music, everything, awesome.
I trust the people though that
I trust them. Yeah. So
what are your thoughts? Closing thoughts, and what do you want to see next time?
This is gonna make Rick get all giddy and like, but when the Cleargers came out, it kind of reminded me of that episode of Game of Thrones when Jon Snow went to was it the Wildlings?
Yep, when he went with the Wildlings to Hardhome, right?
Yes, and then they're talking all saying, look up, and there's all the Nightwalkers. Was it the Nightwalkers, right?
White Walkers.
All the White Walkers. They stand there and they just start jumping off.
Bro,
that's
talk about that real quick, because not in detail, but I want to give props to that scene. That was so well made, bro.
It was basically
sue me, never seen it.
Oh, you have to watch it. All right, so if you haven't watched Game of Thrones, or if you have, you remember Jon Snow basically was the king of the North. Went basically, what's it called again? Hardhome.
Hardhome, yeah.
Went there to gather up the wildlings to side with, so they could fight with them. Now, just like in this kind of in a way, there's this army of undead called the White Walkers who are basically working their way towards them to go beyond the wall to basically kill everybody and turn them on to White Walkers. But there's one scene where just as they're sitting there planning and they got the back and Jon Snow's excited, he looks up. You have this whole mountain area, like a cliff, and all these White Walkers just standing on the cliff. And they all decided they're just going to throw themselves off the cliff because they were, picture the bloater telling everybody, all right, go this way. Like you said, go this way, go this way. That's all right. Jump. They all jumped down. Once they hit the ground, they all stood back up and just charged. Right. And that kind of reminded you of this because the minute they came out, they just charged.
The way they ran out that hole, bro.
That was so scary and so fucking awesome. Like it was so cool.
It was very reminiscent of that. I was like, all right, finally, some great action. And everything was happening fast. And then when the bloater comes out, they're all just shooting, and they couldn't stop them. I mean, once again, Game of Thrones, when you got the giant. Because those giants were no joke too, so a lot of reminiscent to Game of Thrones. But yeah, it was a good action episode. I do want to see what's going to happen with Joel and Ellie as far as their continued growth. My coworker kind of told me what the next episode is going to be about, but I'm not going to say that because then Rick will kill me. So he watched the trailer. I'm like, I'm not watching trailers, but yeah.
You're not watching trailers for this, Joe?
I'm not watching.
Oh, my man.
I do.
Nah.
Try it without it 1 week just to see how you do.
Oh
no, yeah, it's actually worth it. This one because like I don't want to know anything until
I didn't know when I saw that bloater. I guarantee you in the trailer they showed the bloater, right?
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't see it?
I didn't
Lexi,
see it.
Did they in the trailer?
In the current trailer
prior,
after this?
No.
The prior
prior. Yes,
4.
They did.
See?
Yeah.
So I don't want to see that. See, when I saw it, I was like, oh my god. Fucking bloater, oh shit! But if I knew that was coming, I'm like, oh, okay, here it is. He
was so fucking dope looking.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there watching him come out.
Fitness instructor under there.
And Priscilla's like, what the fuck is that?
That's the oldest form of infection, the bloater. They don't evolve past that. Oh, they got other ones, right?
No, this is the oldest.
The oldest, infection. As far as
it's the bloater, clickers, stalkers, and
the regular infected.
Yeah, but let's see where happens with Joel and Ellie and see if Tommy comes around.
But you liked the bloater coming out, right? Like I was thinking of you during that moment. I was like, I can't wait to hear what JR has to say.
I knew JR would like it because it's also reminiscent. Not that it happened, but in Lord of the Rings, something like that would happen.
Yeah.
And I know JR's a big fan of that. Like the big action sequences, all of a sudden they're fighting, everything stops, and another bigger motherfucker starts coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Nemesis in Resident Evil.
Clary's face is when that bloater came out. Oh.
Yeah, you get the same reaction when you play Resident Evil and the Nemesis comes out.
Yes. Okay, I know that one.
But yeah, I mean, see what happens. And I know Tommy's around the corner sometimes. So
yeah, and you know what? He has to show up soon because we're almost done. It looks like.
Right.
Well, you guys talk. I'm gonna look it up. Then.
I guess I won't. I'm a loser. I gotta watch I'm impatient. Okay.
No, don't.
I gotta watch.
That doesn't do anything for you. Though.
I know, but I'm just so excited. I'm like, what's next? I just want a little hint. I won't say anything, but I will say I feel like I saw a little bit of season 2 leaking into this, and that's all I'm gonna say. When I saw the trailer. And it makes me question a lot of things, but there's so much that happened. Like there's still so much that we need to see from season 1 of the game. That when I saw the trailer in little leaks of season 2, I was like, please tell me we're not fast forwarding. But I've been talking to my friend Wicked, shout out. Who faithfully watches our podcast, so thank you. Keep watching. But he talks all the time with me. Like I literally talked to him like an hour ago, and he's like always trying to Easter egg me. He's like, "Did you notice that?" Yes, I did. But him and I were talking about the trailer, and he saw what I saw, so we're just a little afraid that they're going to fast forward a little way too much. But I'm praying to God that they don't, and what I want to see, what I know is coming, is what we're going to see. With all that said, back to Joel and the sniper scene, my closing thoughts on that. I saw his layers leaking the most in that scene because with Ellie, he put her first, if you think about it. He put her first because she kept looking at Sam and Henry, but he kept looking at her. So anytime he looked at her, he would kind of follow where her eyes were, and she noticed, oh, okay, well, if she cares about them, I'll help her out. So
he cleared a path for her, essentially.
Yeah, he could have just saved her and fucked the other two. But no, he cared about what she cared about. She saw the relationship, or Joel saw the relationship grow between Sam and Ellie. And so he, followed her eyes, saw that they were stuck under that car. So he was shooting off everything coming at her. That one little snippet scene where the car just mashes all of the clickers, just because she almost got like legit, roundhoused at that one point. But then the car came by, and then she was able to get to Sam and Henry and help out, and then the shiv, the two clickers. But did you notice that Joel, when he was so nervous I felt like it was almost PTSD. Of losing his daughter. And remember, we said in the first episode when he lost Sarah that it was going to be a ball rolling in the future for him. And that was one of the moments that I noticed when he was up in the sniper tower. He was so nervous. He was shaking. He got it lodged and stuck, the gun. Yeah. And he was shaking, and he missed a bunch of times, actually. He missed his shots. And it was because he was leaking fear of losing Ellie, aka possibly Sarah, in his mind. He was reliving that moment of losing his daughter. And although he claims she's not my daughter, she's just cargo, he's showing some type of care or almost love for Ellie. And so I loved that moment where, that's my closing thought, is that I loved the moment he put her first and she wanted to save Henry and Sam, which happened, unfortunately, just a little too late for Sam. But the moment I saw him shaking and missing shots, it was him being so nervous of losing someone again. And then at the very, very end, fast forwarding, where they're burying Sam and Henry, she writes, "I'm sorry," because, she felt bad. She thought, oh my God, like you said, Ricky, that my blood can cure. But it didn't, and it didn't work in the moment. So, and I gotta say, just being in the medical field, that's not the way to transfer blood. So I get her effort. She's a child, but
remember, her school system sucks. Remember that.
Right. Yeah. You have to, put the needle in the arm for something like that to work. But yeah, that's my closing thought. I feel like the relationship is going to go, actually, I feel like it's going to be tested. Just knowing what's in the game. I think it's definitely going to be tested between the two, especially with something I know that is coming up, and I'm hoping that it does. But I love where it's at right now and their relationship growth. That's it. That's my closing thought. Sorry. Alrighty.
No, every time you're saying stuff, it keeps reminding me, the irony in that scene when he's shooting and missing. He just finished telling Ellie and Sam and Henry, it's like run! This he's a terrible shot, essentially.
Yeah.
And he starts missing all his shots.
And that's what made me feel like, because he had his eyes on Ellie the whole time. His mind, forget the other two, I'm saving them. But then he starts to notice she's looking at them. And so he's like, all right, I got to save all three of them. But he was shaking and so nervous that he was going to lose the one person he cares about, Ellie. But that is all that we have today. Are we good, guys? I think we said everything we needed to say.
Yeah, man. Well, we could be here forever, but...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's just last thing. Excellent show. I'm loving it. I hope this keep going. And I just checked. We got 4 episodes left. So there's 9 total. So JR was right, yo.
That makes me a little sad, but yes.
Yeah. It should have been 10 at least.
I do want to say, cheers to Sam and Henry. Cheers.
Raise one up for the homies.
Until next time, my name is Lexi. My co-hosts, JR, and Ricky Grimes is a long word. All right, Ricky Grimes. All right, y'all. Until next time.
Stay scared.